Greetings everyone, it's time for a video. Today's video is brought to you by the letters K, I, D, and S, also known as my children. So, got a headset, has a mic, gaming headset, picked it up. Child 1 had wanted a gaming headset, so we bought Child 1 that. Child 2 had a birthday roll around in March, bought headset because they wanted one. Child 2 broke Child 1's headset, not this one, another one, or the first one. Fixed that, no big deal. It was something pretty simple. Something was snapped off and then I got it back together. Then recently Child 1 broke Child 2's headset, accidentally again. This one's, however, a little more, a much more serious problem. So you can tell here the jack, well, kind of droops, and that's because it's broken. So what happens is usually in this case is you got it plugged in, you know, then something hits, yeah, next thing you know, you don't get anything out of it. So I've had other jacks break, and I've had moderate success fixing them and sometimes failures, but I figured I'd show you this one. So I'm going to cover some of the stuff with this. There's some this is a, I guess you call it 3-pin, really 4-pin, because there's 3 channels, 1 being the mic, 2 being the stereo, left and right, and then there's of course a return, which is the ground, and that's why you have this jack. There's different styles. There's your standard headphone jack, which is only going to have 3. What you can tell is, let's see if I can focus in a bit here. What you can tell is you've got 3 bands. You see the 3 bands of black, which means that in this case it's got 4 wires, and of course the extras for the microphone. So, you know, one thing you could do here is you could just say, well, you know what, why don't you buy another? But that's really wasteful, and wasteful of money too, not including the fact that the only place this is destined for, in most people's cases, would probably be a landfill. Maybe even if they tried to give it to someone who'd fix it, maybe not. In my case, I'm going to fix it. And besides, it's not that difficult. You can get parts to fix it, or you can even try to fix it in place, and I'll get to that in a bit. So I'm going to lay some things out, and then I forgot to print something out or draw something. Back in a moment, and I'll show you some information. Alright, I actually printed this out, but I wanted to print out a few more things. So both of these parts that I picked up, they come with pictures and images and whatnot. Got to print them out. But basically, part of the problem comes in, and the reason why I said that there's 2 different styles is there are 2 different standards for how these things are wired. This style is called TRRS, or tip ring sleeve. You got tip, 2 rings, and a sleeve, though that seems a little odd, but that's what they call it. A stereo jack is a TRS, tip ring sleeve, and then a mono jack, which would be just 1 channel, is just TR. So for this one, they at least conveniently show you, well, hey, these are the wires, and then here's what they would wire up to. But the problem is, of course, you don't really know which channel or which standard you have, so where the channels go is a little off. And the good news is it's just the ground and microphone that are flipped. The problem is you screw this up, everything is messed up, because if your ground's not in the right spot, it's not going to work. The nice thing about this is they give you the wiring for their color. They're like, hey, this is where these go. But they expect you to go and try to understand, use like a multimeter or whatnot to figure out what you have, which is kind of a pain in the neck. So I don't really have any advice here for someone who, say, doesn't have a multimeter. You're going to have a problem with it regardless. You're going to have to figure out what your pins are, honestly. In this case, this other one, which is the screw-in one, and what I mean by that is, this one is just, it's plugged with some wires, and you splice the wires in, and then use heat shrink and put it up. This is a little different. it will, let's see if I can focus on this for you. Hopefully it'll focus. So you unscrew it, and then they have 4 pins, or 4 spots where you connect. They have pin, pin, and pin, and then they have an internal pin. And this picture will show it a little better. I'll focus in on that now. Let's see. There. So they have, it shows you where all these parts are. The problem is, of course, okay, great, but this is just one standard. Remember, you have 2 different standards, and this is one. And I haven't printed all of it out, but they at least tell you that there's multiple, but it's up to you again to figure it out. So they also provide some convenient stuff. So in the end, the point is, the reason why I think cutting this open, at least in my case, is important, is because you've got to figure out what these wires are connected to so you can understand what connections you need. So without further ado, I'm going to go and pause, put this in the vise, and then try to slice it open along one of the seams. And when I'm at a good point, I'll bring you back in. This thing was on there pretty good. This was pretty tough to get off, honestly. I cut it off, but it's surrounded even more. There's kind of like this plastic piece inside that's harder than this kind of soft coating on the outside. I'm not going to bother trying to figure out what exactly broke, but I'm pretty sure I know that it's going to be that main pin. Anyway, so if you can't cut this open to figure out what this is, and you don't have a multimeter, the only other option you have, honestly, is to look it up on the internet. So if you're lucky enough to have a brand, a model number, you can probably find out. So in this case, this is the Air Force 70X, and according to everything I've read, it's CTA IA compliant with compliant with that standard. In fact, that seems to be for most Microsoft PC, Android. That's what they use, and this supposedly is a newer standard. I've read some pretty credible reports saying that even though the iPhone, iPad, earphones allegedly follow this standard, they don't work for some reason, because there's something in how they are implemented there isn't quite the same, even though the pin layout may be the same. But hey, whatever. We're not talking about, in this particular case, this hooks up to an Xbox, so I know this will work. Anyway, so this is going to end up being my pin layout for wiring this up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this, and there's no point, and then I'm going to try to cut it and strip back so I can expose the wires. But before I do that, I am going to try to figure out, I'll probably cut it about right here. I'll probably show you how the multimeter style works so we can kind of see what's up with it. So I'll show you that back shortly. Well, I was going to try to show these multimeter and continuity set and try pins, but that's not going to work. These wires were disintegrating pretty well, and headphone wires are very finicky. You got to be careful with them. But I'd already, when I was just trying to go and pull insulation off, 2 of them just came right out. They didn't even. It was like there was nothing holding them. So I think most of this stuff is broken through, and I was having a hard time trying to get something to grab onto to put the probe against. So we're going to move on, and we're not going to do that. But if you had one and you could get it open like this, then to give you an idea, what you do is, like, if you say the tip here is the left audio, so it should go, let's see, whoops, it should be, or, we'll do the right side. So you do the right, and then you would hit, I think it's this one, yeah. That way you would know that, like, this outer ring here, see if I can get you to see it, this outer ring here, this maps to that, so on. And that's how a way you could figure out which pin goes to what. And then, there'd be wires, these wires would be hooked up if I can get one off here. They'd be hooked up like so, and you'd be able to see it that way. Anyway, I'm going to get set up and try to do some soldering, and then I've cut it, so I'm going to strip the line and then try to split out these, and then feed I'll probably feed this through and along with some heat shrink first, and then I think I'm going to try this approach with this one. This style, the screw in, give this one a shot first before I do the wire. And like I said, I have multiples, so it's not like I can't try this a few times. One thing I am going to try to do is put some hot melt glue inside this thing and then screw it in an effort to keep it, give it some support and prevent as best as possible it breaking easily the next time. So I'll bring you back shortly. Alright, I'm back. I did succeed in getting it soldered, and it does work. That said, this is quite the struggle, and I have serious doubts about this repair. I'm going to try it, see what happens, but if it fails, I'll probably go the other route. I also had somewhat of an issue with finding the correct information, and because there was one little oddity about how this one's set up, and that it actually has two grounds, and that is one for the mic and one for the speakers. I figured they'd be the same, but according to what I've been told, they're not, or what I read online, they're not. So I will also say that this is somewhat of a struggle in terms of what you're looking for in terms of doing this type of work. It's not easy. You got to have some serious patience, and this, what they call headphone wire, which is in this, can be a challenge to work with. So I just warn you up front, if somebody decides to do this, it's going to be some work. But in any case, that's about it for this video. Kind of an oddball one in some ways, but that said, the quest, always moving forward, and thanks for watching.